We're here at the Auto Expo 2025, and I'm joined by two very special guests, Mr. Nandan Agrawaal, who's the MD of NPL, and Mr. Vikas Gupta, who's the CEO. Nandan, thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us for this interaction. So, if you could give us a quick overview about your area of operation, what products do you have, and which segments of the auto industry do you cater to?
Absolutely. So NPL as an organization is predominantly into two product segments. One is lubricants for both industrial and automotive applications, and the second product is AdBlue, which is also called diesel exhaust fluid in the common parlance. The lubricants business, is more than a 3-decade-old business, under which we manufacture the entire range of lubricants, which includes automotive, industrial lubricants. We also do specialty oils like transformer oils and white oil and liquid paraffins for the personal care and pharmaceutical industry. And we also manufacture greases. So the entire range of the oil segment is catered through our company. In the automotive lubricants, we cater to both on-highway as well as off-highway OEMs, where we are tier 1 OE supplier, both for their OE fill as well as for their aftermarket. Aftermarket includes their service network as well as their spare part distributors. AdBlue Def also is being catered to both on-highway and off-highway OEMs. Initially started with the on-highway OEMs with BS4 being implemented in 2017. And post 2020, after BS6, even the diesel pass cars have started using AdBlue. And now with the latest emission norms in the off-highway segment, being TREM 5, there's SCR systems being used in off-highway equipment as well. And now we've started servicing the off-highway OEMs also for their DEF requirements.
Because if you could give me some overview of the business, what Nandan just mentioned about these different product categories, and within lubricants and DEF is still a newer territory for you. So where does the business stand right now, and your manufacturing and distribution network as well?
So let me start with DEF first. Okay. So we have like 25 manufacturing facilities across India. We're by far the largest AdBlue stroke DEF supplier in the country. So if let's say India sells around 100 liters of DEF, we would be doing 35-40. That's how large we are. We are by far the largest manufacturer of AdBlue and DEF in the country, both in terms of sales as well as manufacturing capability. And so therefore for us, DEF stroke AdBlue is a significantly large business. We continue to innovate in that category. For example, we've innovated for a long time. Largely because we are the largest, and that innovation falls upon us. For example, we were the first who went into creating what's called DEF developer dispensing system. It's called a DDS. So on the highway, you will see a lot of dispensing systems where you can actually do it through a nozzle. So we've done the DEF dispensing system. The DEF dispensing system we created in-house. So we have our own manufacturing facility, and we are currently in the process of actually putting large number of these across the country for workshops of Tata Motors, Bharat Benz, etc. Also, what you see in IOCL, HPCL fuel codes, those are our dispensing systems. So for us, DEF and AdBlue is something that's growing really fast, and also we are leaders in that category. Coming to lubricants, for example, lubricants again, we have a 30-year heritage in lubricants. We are the preferred supplier for a lot of OEMs and private labels. It's a business that is very dear to us, and we are growing really fast over there. Again, for us, we are actually investing a significant sum in upgrading our facilities. So we have currently 3 facilities in Taloja and in Silvassa. So the grease facility we upgraded a few years ago. We are now spending significant amounts in upgrading our facility in Silvassa with high-speed machines, state-of-the-art filling and manufacturing facilities. So that's one part in terms of production. We are also spending and in the process of relaunching our brand Velvix. Over the next few months, you will see a lot of activity in terms of a refreshed portfolio, a refreshed labels, and then our presence across social media and other categories for the Velvex brand, and therefore consequently a lot more on distribution, etc. So there are large parts of the business and that we are actually firing on all cylinders. So a lot of people ask me, what would you concentrate on? And my answer to that is everything. Because we see all portions of the market growing. Def, for example, we are the largest, so it is incumbent upon us to make this category grow. And we'll talk to you a little bit about SCR and how we could do that. Lubricants is bread butter for us. And again, that's a category that we believe is growing. And therefore, we are actually investing in our facilities and investing in people. This year, we've taken, for example, in terms of sales force that we have, if we started with 100 people on 1st of April, we'll end up with 120. So we've grown our sales force by 20%. So you will hear a lot of people saying, actually, you know, we are declining number of people, but a company like ours is actually growing number of people that we are hiring. So we see this market as a growth market. We have a lot of faith in this market. And we are investing in this with both money and manpower. So that's where we are.
And like Vikas just mentioned, you know, you're going to relaunch this brand of lubricants. So what was the idea, the rationale behind it? If you could shed some light on that. And overall, within the business, is exports also something that you're very big on?
Yeah. So at present, I would say 95% of our revenues comes through domestic operations. But having said that, there is immense opportunity which exists in other geographies besides India. So long, you know, because you know the Indian economy also thankfully, you know, because of the favorable, you know, policies of the government of India has been, you know, sort of doing well. The GDP has been growing. So our hands were, you know, quite full in terms of, you know, leveraging the growth opportunities within India. But now, as Vikas mentioned, you know, we've been, you know, heavily investing in terms of, you know, our infrastructure, our resources. So not only sales team, you know, we've sort of, you know, hired, you know, a lot of people, to take care of, you know, different opportunities besides India as well. So exports is, you know, one area that, you know, in the next financial year, we'll see a, you know, big sort of, you know, jump for us. We're actively working in, you know, multiple geographies. Today, we're exporting to almost 120 countries, you know, at present. But, you know, the volumes are still limited. And we recently just started. That's why I said, like, you know, it's about 5-10% is the export contribution. The next year, that would, you know, see a major jump. We also plan to launch, you know, our Velvex brand in a few of the geographies, you know, maybe in, you know, the African continent, some in South America. So that's where we see, you know, opportunities where the lubricant industry, the market is growing, you know, at a higher percentage as compared to India. There is, you know, room for, you know, different brands. And coming to, you know, why the brand refresh, it's largely sort of, you know, to keep up with the changing times, to keep up with the changing, you know, buying behavior, changing consumers. You know, there are more Gen Zs, you know, which are sort of, you know, sort of making buying decisions right now. So we want to sort of, you know, appeal to the Gen Zs. You know, Velvex brand is not a very, very old brand. It's a fairly young brand. And so we want to position this young brand to the young India, you know, which is thriving right now. You know, we believe that this industry, you know, needs, you know, a complete makeover. The lubricants industry, all the lubricant brands are very, very serious brands. You know, there is no, you know, fun to the brand. You look at the FMCG segment, you know, you look at, you know, products, you know, which are, you know, sort of, you know, not very fancy products, but, you know, they used to be boring. But now there are so many startups which are sort of, you know, making the same boring product interesting, you know, appealing to millennials and Gen Zs. And that's where, you know, that's what is our sort of, you know, aspiration and objective, that we want to sort of, you know, create a fun lubricant brand in the country. You know, we want to bring some fun element. When a mechanic deals with our, you know, product, when a retailer sells our product, our brand, when a consumer buys a brand, you know, there should be, you know, some amount of sort of, you know, a desire, you know, an engagement with the brand. There should be some humor, some fun, you know, that, you know. So we're trying to sort of, you know, create that. You know, I don't know how successful we'll be in this journey, but that's our, you know, that's a genuine attempt, that we'd like to sort of, create some fun in this industry.
Right. Because do you have any market share ambitions with the brand as you relaunch?
So the lubricant industry is an extremely fragmented industry. Yeah. So for example, almost 35-40% of the share is with brands which have less than 1% market share.
Right.
Yeah. Currently, we would be in the region of around 2.5%. We are among the top 10 brands in the country. Yeah. The ambition is to get into the top 5.
Okay.
Yeah. And for that, there are multiple things we have to do. So we are starting with, let's say, what I call a portfolio revamp,
Right.
and a brand refresh.
Yeah.
Then it has to, culminate into a communication strategy and a distribution strategy, etc.,
Right.
etc.
Right.
So we are on that journey. We believe that in the next 3 years we should be there.
Okay. Could you shed light on your distribution network? I mean,
So we are available across the country. Okay, we are stronger in some regions and not so strong in the others. And the idea is to get a pan-India presence and be reasonably strong over the next 12 to 18 months.
Okay.
In let's say the top 50 cities, in the top 10 states, etc.
Right.
And once we build that base, then you can actually go on from there.
right. And is digital or this online channel,
Digital is the
online
only
marketplace
way to go.
also?
Digital is the only way to go, which is not to say that we will not do traditional media.
No, I'm asking about the online marketplace. I mean, do you see that also emerging
For
as
our
one
category
avenue?
in India,
Not
okay,
yet.
we are
Okay.
so let's say, for example, in the automotive category, and you guys obviously know this, is there are two kinds of a consumers. There's a DIY consumer,
Yeah.
and there is a do-it-for-me consumer, DIFM consumer. India is a choose-it-yourself, do-it-for-me kind of a category. So therefore, you need your brand and your category because the consumer has to choose you.
Right.
But then very rarely does anybody change oil.
Right.
So therefore, one of the reasons why e-commerce has not taken off in the lubricant category is that nobody knows how to change oil. People still need to go to
Right.
the mechanic to get it
Yeah.
changed. Also, the distribution is wide enough that you don't need. There's no real advantage for the consumer in terms of actually getting it through e-commerce.
Okay.
So there are lots of categories, adjacent categories. For example, whether you take cleaning products
Yeah.
or
Car care.
detailing products for
Right.
cars, which people will buy, and then they could still, on a Sunday, I love my
Use
car,
it themselves
I love my bike, I can do it. That doesn't happen for the category.
So more
we are in.
accessory rather than
Also, any
spares.
detailing product का फिर भी कर सकते हैं, but this one is
So any
still-
service product, like lubricant is largely a service
Right,
product.
right,
So
right.
because of being a service product, it is difficult to
Right.
sort of, someone to buy it and like use it by themselves.
Right.
Having said that, AdBlue is a product, which we are seeing is gaining traction on e-commerce, especially for the pass car
Right.
consumers, because it is not a service product. It's like a,
Just fill it yourself.
just fill it yourself.
Right.
So we're seeing, traction coming in the small pack for the passenger car category over there.
Right. And any challenges that you're seeing on the AdBlue side? I
Yeah.
mean, in the aftermarket, are there any challenges that you're already seeing?
So one of the biggest challenge that not only us but the industry is facing is the challenge of the SCR system is being bypassed by truck operators largely. SCR is the equipment in which AdBlue is used,
Yeah.
which basically converts all your NOx emissions into nitrogen and water vapor,
Correct.
and thereby meeting the Bharat Stage Emission 6 standards.
Yeah.
Now, when you bypass this SCR system, your NOx is completely untouched, and thereby the bypassed vehicle is emitting about 30 to 40 times the NOx, as per the BS6 standard. In fact, the NOx emission is higher than BS1 specified standard
Okay.
as well. So, which is a major cause of concern for the environment. There are thousands of crores worth of investment which has been done by the automotive industry as well as the oil industry to meet the BS6 emission norms. But by this behavior of a cheating behavior is completely defeating the objective for which BS6 was implemented.
Correct.
BS6 was largely implemented so that we can breathe in clean air.
Yeah.
But just to save a few pennies, people are resorting to sort of these using these so-called defeat devices. These defeat devices are nothing but these sensors which can completely sort of can read the ECU of the vehicle, and there are files which are available which override the existing program,
Right.
by which the vehicle does not know whether the system is using the SCR or no.
Correct.
I mean, it sort of bypasses those sensors, and once the system is bypassed, then there is no need to fill AdBlue.
There's no consumption at all.
There's no consumption. So
Right.
just to save on that few few rupees on the AdBlue consumption,
Right.
we are seeing a lot of this bypass issue taking place. So in this year, for that matter, the overall industry volume has marginally shrunk.
Okay.
While as with every new vehicle coming on the road, the AdBlue demand should increase proportionately, because it's just like a fuel.
Yeah.
It's so AdBlue gets consumed at the rate of 7 to 8% of diesel consumption.
Okay.
So as diesel demand increases, AdBlue demand should automatically increase.
Correct.
But because of this SCR bypass issue, we're seeing like shrinking of the demand. More than the shrinking of the demand, that's like more from a commercial angle. But again,
so the environmental benefit,
environmental disruption which is taking place because of something like this, is a major issue. So we, being the market leader, we have represented to various ministries. And we are in talks with them,
right?
And we would love a media publication like Autocar Professional to sort of create more awareness on this subject as well, so that there is like more sort of further push by the ministry to take certain action against sellers of these defeat devices, as well as sort of some penalty on the users for
the end
something
users.
Like this.
Yeah. So there has to be an angle of enforcement as well as regulatory push.
So it's also a question of the amount of investment that is going into engine technology.
True.
Yeah. So let's say you're going from BS4 to BS6, and now we are talking BS7.
Yeah.
And a lot of that technology is all about reducing emissions.
Yeah.
Now what is happening is all the investment is happening in the technology, and we are getting there. But with the ingenuity that we have in this country, there's a lot of bypass happening. And unfortunately, then we see all this pollution around, and we are saying that BS6 ka koi fayda nahi hai, except that we are not going back 1 or 2 steps, we are going back 10 steps. Your BS6 vehicle with a bypass is actually 40 times more polluting than a BS1 vehicle. So it's like that kind of...
Correct. So you've gone back.
You've gone back.
In history,
you've gone back like years. And imagine if this is happening on an industrial scale. Then what does it really do?
But how rampant is it from your estimation?
Quite rampant. I would say almost 50 to 60% of BS4 vehicles would be bypassed by now.
Okay.
And within BS6 at least, say 10 to 20%. So overall from an SCR vehicle park perspective, we easily about 30-40% vehicles would be bypassed. So that's how rampant it is. So it's a huge problem. And couple of years back it was marginal, but the pace at which it has sort of gone up has been phenomenal. People have been just like absolutely unafraid to be doing something like this. So with regulatory interventions as well as enforcement, people, there should be a fear that this is something, we cannot do something like this.
Right. And just lastly, Vikas, if you could just give us a brief outlook of your investment strategy going forward, as well as we're seeing this transition to more EVs. You play in the lubricant and the DEF space. So any plans to diversify beyond these two categories?
So anybody in the industry has to look at EVs, etc. So there's obviously a short to medium term plan, and there's a long-term plan. Now, the way we really look at this is that the lubricant demand over the next 20 years is not going down. EVs will go. For example, a lot of your two-wheeler category, especially in cities, will move to EVs first. A lot of the cars will move to EVs. But if you really look at trucks and off-road vehicles and a lot of those others, they will still be there, and therefore lube consumption will continue to remain. Therefore, we are quite clear that lube is not a category that is going away. It continues to grow. And again, there are various technologies that are competing as of today. So for example, we don't see the IC engine dying at all. Okay, with hydrogen coming in and all of the others, the IC engine is back in the race. So those kind of technologies are still competing, so it'll be probably too early to write an obituary for the IC engine. So therefore, we are investing, like I told you even earlier, we are investing a significant portion in upgrading our facilities.
Right.
Yeah, both in terms of manufacturing, so in terms of putting high-speed machines, and putting in terms of state-of-the-art manufacturing capabilities, etc., because we actually see this segment growing.
Right.
AdBlue, our view is that it is the right thing to do. Okay, the government is quite focused. So if you go to BS7, actually AdBlue consumption goes up significantly.
Okay.
Now, obviously, the government has to also figure out कि यार कहीं ये बढ़ रहा है, कहीं ये कम हो रहा है, उसका हमको as a and this is not about us as a seller as a category, but it is also about the environment.
Right.
So the vehicle manufacturers that we speak to are also very focused on this because they are putting in all the investments and they're not seeing the return in terms of environment. So we as a nation need to be cognizant of this. So to answer your question, we don't see us slowing down investment.
So are you optimistic about like a healthy double-digit growth in the business over the next 5-year time frame?
Absolutely. Definitely. In fact, even in the next 10-year time frame, we don't see this going down.
Right.
2-3 reasons for that. The number of cars in this country will only go up as the country GDP per person goes up. So therefore, people will move to bikes and people will move to cars, etc. And for what that does to the livability of our cities is a completely different question. But we see car ownership going up. We see vehicle ownership going up. We see, if you look at the off-road so you look at the highways that are getting built, that's not slowing down for the next 10 years.
Right.
So we actually don't see this category going down at all.
Right.
So, and like I said, we are one of the significant players in this category, and we intend to grow. So, we are putting our money where our mouth is.
Right. On that note, Vikas, wish you all the best. Nandan,
thank you, man.
Pleasure talking to you. Thanks
Likewise.
a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.